And I got to hit the share button, which I was supposed to hit beforehand. Oh. And you're live on Lunch Conversations with Teddy and Randy and Teddy. And our special guest today is Kari Niblack, and we'll tell you a little bit more about who Kari is in a few minutes, but let's get this ball rolling, and let me do this right so that I can earn my keep. So, hey, you're on, again, Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy, and we're grateful for Blackwell Captive Solutions being our 2023 sponsor. Listen to these words. If you have your own business, or you know somebody that has their own self-insured organization, is your healthcare plan your biggest spend? Want more power and greater transparency with that plan? Then reach out to Blackwell Captive Solutions, because they help you equalize the playing field so that your cost is not based on what the insurance company wants, but rather on they're doing it the right way and paying the right amount. And you do that in one way by tracking every dollar. For greater price transparency, reach out to Blackwell Captive Solutions. And by the way, that includes a lady by the name of Kari Niblack, who's on the show today.
A plus. A plus.
Yeah, I will check in with oh shoot, I just forgot Cleo and see if I did better today. Kari,
that's right. She's a tough grader, but she's in the audience, so we'll see how we did.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for joining us. Hey, and for those who've never met me, while Randy continues behind the scenes doing what we need to do, I'm Teddy. I'm a LinkedIn strategist, trainer, and coach. I work for a company called Burriss Consulting. I sleep with my boss. She's been loving me for 43 years. I had to clarify that, Randy. And
thank you.
we help people use LinkedIn as a business tool, whether you're in business development, sales, account executive, account management, or a business owner looking to take your organization to the next level. Hunt down this dude named Teddy, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you. Randy, did I align all the ducks appropriately for you?
You did, and we're up and running on LinkedIn and Facebook, so it's off to a good start. Randy Wooden with Goodwill Industries of Northwest North Carolina, director for our professional center. Based in Winston, I work a lot of times remotely, and always on a Wednesday I'm remotely. It's remotely possible. How about that? But happy to help if you're a job hunter, or maybe you know somebody who is. Regardless of where you live, happy to try to help. But most of our clients are in the Triad, around the Winston area. And I tell you what, I really enjoy getting together. Teddy, now it's been almost 3 years, and that's lasted longer than most marriages. So
yeah.
I think we're
on the fence, Randy. I'm still in the evaluation phase.
Still in the probationary period, I see. Well, hopefully that'll ease here in a little while. But each week we get together and really enjoy learning about new topics and bringing back old friends and meeting new ones. So today's no exception. Teddy, I'll throw it back to you. But by the way, if you have comments or questions for Kari Niblack, put them in the chat area, and I'll keep an eye on that and try to work them in where appropriate.
Cool. So, I don't have my introduction written for Kari the way I would like to do it. Randy, I've known Kari for a long time. I can't remember where we hooked up. Where did we connect? Do you remember?
I think it was at a community event initially, and then the rest they say is history. Just like attracts like, and the passion for which we share information was keen. And then I was on the show. I looked, it's been about 1.5 years. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you do our audience a favor and you tell them who you are so that they know who this lady is, and then we will drop the topic on them afterwards.
That sounds awesome, guys.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kari Niblack. I'm the president of Blackwell Captive Solutions. For a little bit of bio for folks who don't know me, I'm an ERISA attorney by trade. I was also a chief HR officer. I've spent more than 30 years in the employee benefits industry. Started way back in the 1980s, paying claims. Back when they came in, they brought them out, guys, in tubs with a dolly, way before AI, and just progressed through the industry operationally. And over the last 20 plus years have been in key leadership positions within the industry. So I'm very passionate about it. And it goes to your intro. This is usually the #1 cost for clients. behind payroll. And so there is great reward in helping them put good solutions in place to curtail that cost.
Yeah, cool stuff. And Kari, and transparency is absolute. She reached out to Randy and I, and back in late 2022, I reached out to her and have a conversation, and she said, I want your show to continue being successful. So I want to be one of your sponsors in this year. And so we're really grateful for that, and grateful for the fact that you really want to help Randy and I make sure we're giving value to our audience. Yep. So that's the real magic there.
You're very welcome, and happy third anniversary to you guys. I could not enjoy the show more, both as a guest and just being in your audience. And every single week I leave with great nuggets of information, great professional connections, and I can't thank you enough for what you do for the community.
Thank you. So this conversation is a little different than most people would expect. You would expect that Kari's going to come here and she's going to talk about underwriting and stopgap, and that is not happening. This conversation is going to be impactful for all of us. And when we talked about it, I'm like, oh my God, Kari, I get this. Here's the title. Listen to the title, everybody. Hey, put that glass down, listen to the title. Creating Business Success by Giving. Really powerful perspective, business philosophy, human philosophy. And so that's the conversation. And Kari's going to really bring this to another level to help us understand the importance of it. So Randy, you got a thought before I go?
Well, just the infamous why question. You're not going to get away without answering that one. Everybody has their why, hopefully their why as to what they do, why they're passionate about it. So help us understand, was it a series of events, or just how'd that why come about for you?
Yeah, Randy, it is completely a series of events, and we'll start with just a stat that I think will surprise folks in the audience, and I'll tie that into my why. But there was a Forbes study recently that said 76% of people believe that mentors are important. I think all three of us would agree. However, only 37% of people currently have one. We can do better, right? And so my why, I had tons of people in my life change my life by being mentors for me, positively affecting my career growth and my knowledge. And I am so passionate about giving that back, especially as we look at the importance of succession planning and we look at different generations in our workforce. Mm-hmm. There are huge information gaps, and the passion comes from sharing that information with people. That give back is also rewarded. So mentors are also successful in that simple act of giving of yourself and sharing your experience and your success. That's a two-way win-win.
I got it. Yeah, appreciate that. Teddy, lots of stuff to cover. Again, as a reminder, if you have comments or questions for Kari, put them in the chat. I'll keep an eye on that, a keen eye on that, and we'll work them in where we can.
What does that look like, Randy? A keen eye. We'll talk about that
when
later.
I squint. It's when I squint. That's when that's the keen eye.
That's when you focus in on it.
This one.
All right, let's get to it. So, Kari, first of all, giving. Mm-hmm. What is that? I mean, I'm positioned this way. I mean, do I need to pull my wallet out? Do I need to break out in a sweat? What do you think? What's giving meaning to you in this context?
Well, I think as I've gotten older, that's evolved. And I want to start with your excellent question. So many people think that giving means stroking a check. They equate the term giving with, well, I need to make a donation. That's partly how you help people. But I think there is so much more of a keen focus on non-financial. So it's all encompassing. It can be anything. It can be giving of information, the celebration of successes, publicly, privately, establishing formal intern programs. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I think if you look at the rewards of building a business and enhancing your life, giving touches all of that, or it sure should. And I think there's so many different capacities, but one of my favorite is not financial. It's intrinsic personally, and that comes from my mother. We'll talk about that as well. But the sharing of information, especially now when so many folks want to move up in their career, it's hard. And I think there are things that we as leaders can do that don't cost anything but our time to help people get in positions that will launch or enhance their career. It's really as simple as that. It can be anything.
Yeah. I spoke to 100 high school students yesterday, Kari.
Mhm.
Now, Randy would say that was a mistake for Teddy to tell high school students what to do. And Randy, I did use that word, you need to experiment, when I was talking to these high school students, which I was coached to be careful saying. But anyway, Kari, one of these students said, oh my golly, you must be getting paid a lot of money to be here. And my handler, the lady who brought me in, Mary Bergstone, Randy knows her, she's been on the show. She looked at me and she giggled. And the young lady saw that and she goes, why are you two laughing? And then I told the young lady, I'm not getting paid to do this. I'm doing this because I want to, and it's fun to do. And then I told her this, and I know that the more I give, the more this freaking phone rings.
That's exactly right.
And I know that. I mean, I live that, and as well as I know you do as well. So I'm with you. So it's really important, and too many people miss out on that. And I'm with you. And they think it's too hard.
Right.
It's not hard. So talk a little bit more from your perspective of why, you know, maybe your own examples of why do you do this? Why do you give?
Sure. I hope they would say I have made direct impact on people's careers. So there's a financial benefit, there's a status benefit as far as just enhancing their knowledge of an industry, just sharing information. And guys, this goes back to, let me say special hello and thanks to my mom. Happy birthday. Mom's birthday was Monday. Happy birthday, Mom.
Hey.
But this started at a young age. And if you'll let me wax for just a moment, I'll give you a little bit more, but let me wax. This was innate in our family, and it was understood that giving was important. And I'll share this story. Mom would be like, don't share the story. But when I was very little, my mom worked for the chief of internal medicine at Indiana University Hospital. And Indiana University Hospital is connected to Riley Hospital, which specializes in treating children who are very ill. This is who my mom is. Every single day on her lunch hour, she would walk over to Riley and she would sit and visit with the kids. And there was a child named Jimmy who was 2 and who was terminally ill. And this is how I grew up. My mom had a picture of Jimmy on her desk in her office. Those are just things that are so innate. And it started with Mom and our family. My grandmother, who had her own real estate business, was a huge giver to the Ronald McDonald House. So, you know, we also had, my uncles were handicapped. And so we did a lot with Special Olympics. And so I start there in that it is innate. And what I saw through all of that was the power with which just being gracious started, right? Whether that's your church or your community or your office. But then there is a tie-in professionally as well. And that is internships, building strength within your own company, bench strength, as we call it as a CEO, hiring givers. Yeah. There is a perpetual recruiting pipeline. There is a perpetual ability to network with other folks just through the pure act of giving some time. It started early, and I believe wholeheartedly in the importance of those who take the time. That kindness is ingrained from Mom.
Yeah. You know, one of my philosophies is, well, in this context, actually there's 2 ideas that I have. Number one is I say this, I give away everything. Don't let Randy hear this, Kari. I give away everything that I make multi-million dollars a year on. I give it all away in little teeny pieces every day. I just keep giving it away.
Yep.
And I mean, that pays huge dividends. But there's another big piece about this whole giving, even beyond business, just showing up and helping people, or, giving $1, or, or breaking a sweat at Habitat for Humanity, or, or taking, my cashmere jackets that no longer fit me and giving them to Goodwill. And, whatever that is, you
Right.
have to do it with no expectations of anything in return.
That's
And
exactly right.
yeah, and I'll tell you, go ahead,
Yeah,
Karen.
no, I could not agree more with that, Teddy, because that simple act of giving something of yourself, sharing your experience, it's worth its weight in gold. I mean, I can't put any dollar amount on that. Every single day, yesterday, guys, I had 3 to 5 people reach out to me. We'd done some media relations stuff, and they had 3 to 5 people reach out to me who are brand new in our industry, and they reached out to me privately. Now, I don't know these folks, right? Can you give me some advice on this? Hey, can you give me a link to this association you spoke to, that type of thing? That only took me about 3 to 5 minutes, but you hope
Mhm.
that helps give them a leg up.
Yeah. Yeah. Years ago, I won't tell you the name of the people involved, but years ago, I used to be a part of the local March of Dimes. So I reached out to all the peeps that I know and said, hey, I'm preparing for this event. I need money to make this event happen. And because anybody willing to donate me money? Well, this one guy shows up with a huge check. I mean, a huge check. And it was way more than I would have expected from this small business. And I'm like, oh my God, you don't know how appreciative I am. And, I am truly appreciative. If I can help you in any way, let me know, which is absolutely the right words for me to say. And the right way for me to feel, and then execute on where I can. Those are my words. I say it on a regular basis. So anyway, he said, Teddy, I'm glad to help. Well, fast forward 3 months after the event, I get a phone call, and this person says, all right, Teddy, it's your turn. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, what are you going to do for me? I said, well, I'll help you any way I can help you. He says, well, I need you to take me to 5 businesses and introduce me to 5 businesses. Like, that's not necessarily what I can do.
Right.
And he said in very blunt words, I gave you $1,000, dude. And I said to him, if I had known that you expected something in return, I would not have taken that check from you. I said, if I had the money from personally to give you, which I really wouldn't have done, but if I had the money to personally give you, I'd write you a check right now and give you your money back.
Yeah.
I said that I was hoping that you were giving because you cared. I don't think I've ever experienced it that blunt. That was so telling to me, Kari, and it reminded me to always give with no expectations.
Yeah, I think that story is pivotal, Teddy, in that there should not be an expectation with it. I think if it comes from the heart and it's genuine, the reward is in itself. And I think it also, the giving is reciprocal. So every time I mentor someone, I learn simultaneously. It makes me a better leader. There's no money involved there, right? We don't go into it with this, to your point on your story, this hard list of, well, you're going to do this for me. That's not what it's about. I think there is an intrinsic giving between a mentor-mentee relationship and just in general with giving that is designed to pave the way for others. And every time I've done that, every single day, every single time, the best learnings come when there's no playbook.
Yeah.
Right?
I kind of wonder too, and this I don't want to hijack this conversation too far away. So if we need to table this for later. So, I mean, you're sitting on top of the mountain over there as the president, CEO, grand poobah. I mean, and so people come to you because they respect you. You're sitting on a fountain of knowledge. But what about the person who's not at that level? What about the what I'll call the mentee? How do they kind of get in that giving mode? They may say, I don't have anything to give. How can you encourage or inspire somebody who may be in that position saying, hey, I'd like to, but I just don't know that I have anything?
That's
Oh,
big.
I-
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that question. I've actually had this come up. And the advice I gave one of my mentees was, go share how the experience went with you with your friends who may be afraid to take that call or afraid to make the ask. Let's start there. So you reward me and being your mentor by telling, Jane and Tom and Sally about your experience and how if you lean into this, there is so much out there to learn. With a particular mentee, this was years ago, she stopped me at an airport. I didn't know. She tapped me on the shoulder. She'd been in, I did a speech for SCI. I was like, a ballroom of 1,000 people. And I was back in line at the airport in security when I had on a peach suit jacket. And this 20-something tapped my shoulder and said, I think I was in your presentation because I recognized the suit jacket.
Yeah.
If I buy you coffee, will you give me 30 minutes? And I said, sure. Now, the behind the scenes was, I didn't really have it, but I was so impressed, right? That she did this, that we did that. I almost missed my plane. I had so much fun with that conversation, almost totally missed the plane. What I have challenged her to do, we met subsequent events, was I challenged her and said, tell this story to people who may be scared to tap someone like me on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And open up that world for them. And I'm going to, and I said to her, and as you move up in your career, I expect you to take that 30 minutes when someone taps you on the shoulder.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's encouraging to get them out of their comfort zone, but to do it, if I'm hearing right, to maybe do it with their peers to start with, because it can be intimidating. I mean, it took some guts to tap you on the shoulder, given your status versus their status in the business world. But it may be easier, I guess, is what I'm hearing, if you're doing it with your peers.
Yes.
Everybody can add value in some way, shape, or form, but maybe understanding your own why and the value you can bring might be a part of that puzzle. So that's a good one. That's good, because I know people that are job hunters, especially young folks out of college. And when it comes to interviews, they feel like, I don't have any experience. What value can I bring? And that's just in the interview, not talking about mentoring mentee. But again, maybe it's a confidence issue they just have to work through. So good advice.
I think so. And I think the other thing, the one other comment to the folks that are new, two comments from my seat. Mom gave me this great advice too. Don't worry about, like, all of us start with no experience. So don't let that stop you, because here's the thing, even at a president level, I've never run a captive before, right? But I had no doubt that I could do it. You take that confidence and that swagger and that industry experience, or if you don't have any, you just got to jump in, because we'll get you experience. And I think the other salient point there, Randy, is even if it's not outside, within your own company. So let's say you're new to a company.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone listening today, do this for me and then let me know how it works, because I know the answer ahead of time. I want you to go find any leader in that company, and I want you to tap them on the shoulder or ask them. Ask them to coffee. Ask if you can watch them in a meeting. Ask if you can learn something from them. Like, it doesn't have to be a real hard formal structure. I want our listeners to take that away and do that for me, because if I know this world correctly, the majority of any of us in leadership positions are going to stop and say, sure, right? Or let me do this for you, or I'll mentor you, or let me introduce you to so-and-so, right? That can be helpful with your career information. I don't know a lot of folks that say no to that, tapping on the shoulder.
Another part of that, Kari, and I do this often, Randy does it often, and I would wager you do this as well. Someone will say to you, I want to have a conversation with X. Pick a name. I want to meet Kari Niblack, or I want to meet this person or that person, and they'll say it to me or ask for help in a polite way. And because of who we are and what we do, because we're willing to help others, we get permission to ask others to help us.
That's exactly right.
And that's important for me. That's an important statement, the get permission part. You just can't expect it. In the book I wrote, it's called Networking for Mutual Benefit. And that includes, you've got to be willing to help. And the more you help, the more you get permission to ask for help.
Yeah, there's a whole element, Teddy, of trust there and pattern in a fantastic way. And I agree. You don't want to abuse that. But I think that that element of trust will happen quickly. It's as you say in your book, it's almost always rewarded. Yeah. And I think it innately builds the playbook around the process.
Right. I got an email from a guy today, text message, and he said, oh, Randy, you'll get a kick out of this. He said, dude, I unregistered from your show. Please don't hate me. And I'm like, well, I hate you. No, I didn't. But he went on and he said this, I'm leaving that company and I don't want the reminders to go to my boss who's going to get my emails. He said, I'll register again with my new name. I'm like, dude, that's a fan right there, you know? But then I said to him, I asked him, what's he going to go do? And he says, I'm going to go in another whole line of business. And I was like, cool, man. He goes, hey, in this line of business is something that Teddy could use. He says, hey, let's get together and have coffee. Now listen to the next words. He says, I want to have coffee with you as a friend. I don't want you to think of it as a sales pitch. Now he had to say that to me. He didn't really, but he felt obligated to say that to me. Sure. Because I remember in the early part of my business, I'd reach out to someone and say, hey, let's get a beer. Let's get a cup of coffee. Let's talk. And I remember this one guy that doesn't know me well. I've known him and his wife for years, but they don't know me well. He said, why do you want to get together with me? I don't want any MLM pitch.
Yes.
And I'm not a part of that. And my point is, these are people that he doesn't know me well. If he'd known me well, he would have known I wouldn't have pitched him. And
exactly. And I think you've hit on something so critical. This giving and mentoring with which we're sharing today, it's paving the way to bring others with you. It has nothing to do, right? It has nothing to do with it's all about a sales pitch, zero. The business relationships and the building community takes care of itself just innately. But for, folks just getting involved in this, there should be no must with the sales pitch. It's not about a sales pitch.
Yeah. No must. I'm with you.
Yeah.
So,
and I get the same thing too, you guys, where I'll get somebody who's a job hunter, and they'll just say, well, let me take you out to lunch or whatever. And, I don't want to accept that kind of gift, if you will, as a goodwill employee. So I politely turn it down and say, I'm happy to help. You don't have to buy me anything. I would do this even if I weren't being paid. And I joke with Teddy. I say, I'm paid to be good to job hunters, and he's good to them for nothing. He's just good for nothing. But the idea is, you don't have to grease the skids with me. You don't have to do that. Just make the ask and you'll get it. But again, a lot of folks, they don't know that the asker, and they feel compelled to have to offer something in advance. And I wish it weren't that way, but it is in a lot of cases.
By the way, Randy, you tell those dudes to take Teddy to lunch. He'll take that lunch.
You'll take. I can't take that.
I'm totally joking, man. I'm totally joking. So, but hey, let me do the bottom of the hour ad spot, and to make sure that I do this right, so that Chloe hears me do this well. Hey, you're on Lunch Conversations with Randy and Teddy. And those don't know, I'm Teddy, and the other guy in the bright shirt is my buddy Randy. Our special guest today is our friend Kari Niblack from Blackwell Captive Solutions, who, by the way, are our sponsors. We've known Kari in the business for a long time. They're great people. They have more than 25 years experience in the health insurance business. Their medical stop loss. Let me tell you, when I started to understand what it's all about, I get it. It makes sense for businesses that are self-insured. Their medical stop loss captive is easy to implement and works like a shock absorber against those high dollar claims. So reach out to Kari or her team at blackwellcaptive.com if you know somebody who is self-insured and wants to put that shock absorber in place. Chloe, I hope you heard that.
She's taking feverish notes, man.
Hey, just a reminder, if you have comments or questions for our guest, Kari, today, put them in the chat area. We'll keep an eye on those, try to work them in where we can. So Teddy, let's get back at it.
Dan threw out this statement, and I'm with you, and I guarantee you, Randy and Kari are the same way. Nothing's more satisfying than someone come up to you after a conversation, however private, mentoring, group. I had a young lady at the school system I went to yesterday, 100 and some students that I spoke with, and this young lady, I asked her this question. It's about career. And I said, what do you want to do? And she's very timid. You know, you can picture this, you know, and here's this big noisy Teddy with a bright red shirt on. And I said, what do you want to do? She goes, I want to be an artist. And very softly, I said, that is cool. I said, do you do any artwork now? She goes, oh, yes, I paint, I draw, I sketch. I said, well, then you're being very rude to yourself because you are an artist. And she said, but nobody's ever paid me. I said, that doesn't measure being an artist. I said, you are an artist because you do it. And then I said to her, Kari, I really pressed her because I really was hoping and she would break out of her shell. And I think she did. And I said to her, I said, what is your first name? And she said, my name is Randy. And I don't know her name. I can't remember it. I said, great. Here's what I want you to say. And I want you to say it out loud. I want you to say it boldly. I am Randy and I am an artist. And so she goes, I'm Randy and I'm an artist. I said, no. I said, put some bone into it, put some excitement into it. And she elevated a couple notches up. She says, I'm Betty and I'm an artist. And I said, I got it. I know who you are now. I said, how'd that make you feel? She said, embarrassed. And I said, you'll get over that because
that's exactly right. Yeah, that's a classic story, right? Well,
let me give you the rest of the story, Kari.
Yeah.
I got an email from her later that evening, and she said, oh my God. She said, I love what you did to me. And I wrote her back and said, I didn't do anything to you. I had you do it to yourself.
That's exactly right.
Dan, you're absolutely right, dude. When you hear those kinds of messages, I didn't need to get paid.
Dan, I love that question. I have a classic line. Anyone who's worked for me with me, and especially when I do this in interviews, right? Or I'm a hard interviewer, but I tell people this, and it's just a great line. I'm going to purposely throw you in to the deep end of the pool. It starts at minute 1. I've got some floaties for you, though. I'm not going to let you drown. You may get a little wet. And you're going to be hanging in the deep end of the pool on the Niblack train, but we've got you. And I love that question, Dan, and I love that story, Teddy, because it is all about confidence.
Yeah, I'm with you. And by the way, Kari, I'd probably tie a rope around their neck and say, I'll get you out if I have to. So I'm with you. There's no greater value. I don't need a thank you. But I love hearing someone who said, you got me, man, and you got me in the right way. And that for me is pretty cool. Hey, Kari, talk a little bit about Chief.
Yes.
I like what they're all about. And it's not for everybody, including me, but talk a little bit about what Chief is.
Yes, I am privileged to be a member of Chief. And for the folks in the audience who don't know or listening, Chief is the private membership network focused exclusively on connecting and supporting women. Guys, can you believe I've been a member for a couple of years? We are now at over 20,000 members. And the amount of information sharing from the leaders all over the world, they're in Europe now, so it's not just US based. We talked a little bit earlier about the paving the way for others, the sending the elevator down. I cannot tell you how much I have learned and gained from that type of membership. And it reminds me, if we go way, way back, I used to be an athlete. If we go way back, that camaraderie that you feel, whether you're an artist in the symphony or you play football or you play baseball, whatever, there is this collegial genuine supporting group of women where, again, we talk about autonomy and we talk about trust, where we understand that disseminating as much helpful information as we can amongst each other and amongst broad audiences is a perfect way of giving back and celebrating companies and individual successes. So we keep sending that elevator down, and it's been very rewarding for me. I would, share with the audience that go find your chief, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be a network that's 20,000 people. It can be an artist community gathering, around the corner.
Yeah.
Find like attracts like, find something that resonates and go hang out. Ask if you can help in an event, anything like that.
I love the word you use. Go hang out. Hey, and CJ Beatty is he is not quite an MLB player. St. Louis Cardinals. He came and spoke to these students, and he said, "Pay attention to the crowd you're in. Pay attention to your circle." And he said, you may very well have friends that you need to hand them their papers and wish them all the best on their journey away from you. And that, that was a blunt statement. This guy was real blunt. He was real. He was live. And because that's fact, who you hang out with and what you do in that crowd really has a powerful influence on who you become and what people perceive of you.
Yeah, I can't give that enough emphasis. So, when we look at Chief and the amount of giving that is happening within that network, it's magnanimous. And it's in all different aspects. It's in local cities around the corner, right? I love that. We'll take that away from today. It has all kinds of different formats, every single industry you can imagine. And these are women who are at different levels. Some are retired, some are my age, some are younger. But every time I have an interaction within that circle, there's kindness. And there's great information sharing. So again, we're going to give the audience some challenges to give or go seek those who give. And again, I think this is one that's important. I didn't start for the first 25 years of my career being a member of Chief, but there were other organizations that I participated in or I volunteered for that had those same feels and those same circle of good folks.
And I'm like you in some regards. I didn't figure this all out until I was about 45 years old. Damn. Yeah,
I started late too. So let me pick on myself and you guys will love this story. I'm not going to name him. One of my worst all-time bosses did this for me. I was a young attorney and I was thinking that I was doing the company a grand gesture by, I had this bad habit. I still do this sometimes. Working through lunch, doing my thing, busting my behind. And one day he came up to me and tapped me on the shoulder and he said, "What are you doing?" And I thought, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm working hard for you, right? And he said, "Let me share some advice with you." And this was important. He said, "You actually, as an attorney of this company, serve our company better by taking your lunch and going out and meeting people." This wasn't about sales, but he recognized, and at the time I was not good at this. I'll tell the audience. It was a pivotal moment for me because I had to process it. And now hindsight, that was such grand advice for him about the importance of networking in your own way, in your own comfort zone. And people are shocked by this. I'm actually an introvert by testing, right? People are just shocked by that. But that advice was good because, and we talk about the circle with which you surround yourself. Find circles where you're comfortable, right? Doesn't have to be 1,000 people. It can be a one-to-one conversation, as we were saying earlier. But you, like you, Teddy, I didn't come out of the gate fantastic out that piece. The giving, yes, but the networking component attached with that, I had to get more adept at. And so it was great career advice.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Here's another, just an observation too. And some people feel like they have to be, I want to be like Teddy. And it's difficult to be like Teddy. And so some people might say, I tried networking, it doesn't work. And they just
Give up.
sink back into where they are. And so sometimes, and you know, what is it? Football coaches have said, John Cooper, who is famous for losing to Michigan consistently over the years at Ohio State, he was among many people who said, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes.
And so maybe practicing it with a friend or somebody to get the jitters out and to build that confidence, but also sometimes just showing up, just being there, you know. And I've had guys over the years, guys I went to college with, you know, sometimes I have my own insecurities. I know that's hard to believe, Teddy, but you know, growing up, and you always wonder, do you measure up? Do I belong? You've got that until you've done it. There's that little sense of doubt, potentially. I mean, there really is. Let's be honest about it. But years later, to have somebody come back and say, you know, I really appreciated that, or I never knew that you could do that kind of thing. So you don't know what example you're setting necessarily. It's not intentional. You're just doing things. Hope that makes sense. That makes sense to you guys?
It does. So
kind of sort of.
By the way, nobody should strive to be like Teddy. The world can only handle one freaking Teddy. Just saying.
Just show up. Yeah. 80% of success is just showing up. But yeah, that's a thing, is I would say practice if you can with people who will give you encouragement, like with Teddy, with the young artist. You don't know, maybe 10, 15 years from now, who knows, right?
Yeah, I might have all new art back here, Randy.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff.
Kari, you also mentioned earlier, oh, it's freaking slipping, and it went. And I had one that I was going to play with that you mentioned earlier, but I just lost it. Hey, let's talk a little bit about how organizations and how even departments in organizations, not even the organization, but maybe the department, talk a little bit about, you know, a formal and maybe even not so formal way a department or an organization can help college students, maybe with some type of an intern program. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, I love this topic. I'm going to weave in a real life example that just happened a couple weeks ago with my intern buddy, Ben. This kid is rocking, right? Okay, so companies, anyone in a position to have influence with this, partner with local colleges. Can be a community college, can be any type of school, even high schools, right? Here is the thing. Kids who are going to school want to learn. And so often they're either intimidated or they may not have the formality of programs. But here's what I have learned over 30 plus years. Every time I do this, it serves our company well, and I love it. In our industry, there's this huge informational gap from folks my age. Then we drop about 10 to 15 years, and then you drop again. So how cool of a story is this? There's a college here in Indiana, Indiana State University. And one of our brokerage partners, let me give them credit, Highland, their brokerage firm here, national, great folks, all about family and teaching. They have put in this formal college intern program where they go to local colleges and they have students come and intern with their company. And let me tell you how powerful this is. Ben's one of their current interns I got to meet a few weeks ago. When I say powerful, let me tell you what Ben's gotten to do. Over the last, we'll say 6 to 8 weeks, Ben has gotten to sit in a C-level where I was in attendance and other presidents were in attendance, a C-level meeting, think tank session for 2023 through 2025 strategy. He got to sit at that table with us for 4 to 5 hours, watching us work, interact, being part of the conversation. He was, and I will give him credit. That was cool. In addition, Ben got to fly to California to our industry conference, SECA, and he was front row in my presentation. He got to sit through a business dinner with 60 people. Oh my God. You know, I cannot tell you the benefit to that young man. And I pulled him aside. He gave me a big hug. And I said, what do you think about all of this? And he said, Kari, oh my God, I went back and told my buddies at college, this is a gold mine.
Sure.
You know, and his whole face lit up. And I think about what I would have done at, we'll say, I'm not sure I've been, we'll say 20 or 21, to be able to sit in those rooms and attend those events. You know, I mean, and I'll say Mr. Richard Highland is at that meeting, right? One of the family founders. And this young man is at that dinner table with us. So I tell that story why? Because in my own companies, we have done this, and we're currently looking to bring some in right now. If you take that opportunity and you do that right, first of all, it benefits everyone involved. But secondly, for my HR colleagues, that is an innate recruiting pipeline. It takes 3 times someone's salary, right, to recruit someone. Let me tell you what you've just done. Not only have you been an expert at giving by that type of program, you have now just developed your own internal recruiting pipeline for these interns. It's amazing. I'll stop there. I could talk about this all day.
Mm-hmm. Teddy's speechless about that. I'll tell you,
Yeah.
he's just knocked him out. Yeah.
I gotta learn to hit the buttons. There's one statement I say to anybody who's looking for a job.
Yeah.
They'll say, and I did this at Goodwill years ago with a lady who said she wanted to be a phlebotomist. And I had somebody said, I want to be an engineer. And this other person said, I want to be a radio show. And another lady said, I want to be a dancer. I said, great. How many people do you know who are engineers, dancers, radio show hosts, whatever? Do you know those people? And they go, no. And I'm like, well, then you'll never truly become what you want to do. Go meet people who play in the sandbox with the toys that you want to play with. And for organizations to make that available by saying, come play with us, that is powerful, because that's how you change people's lives immensely.
Yeah, I can't overstate. I mean, folks take anything away from our nuggets of wisdom today from the 3 of us. Let me tell you, if your company does not have an intern program, you go talk to HR. I don't care, right? Go find any type of school. There will always be a yes there, and find some young folks who want to learn and give them the opportunity to sit at that table.
Yeah,
it's immensely powerful. The other thing is, you also gave me a great softball on just within the company, even outside of interns, just departments. I think the other thing I would challenge the audience where we have had great success is cross-functional training. And where it might not have resonated in the past, or it might not just from a beginning blush make sense, do it, trust me. I have made an artwork of this, of taking folks who are in a functional expertise area. We'll use marketing, Cleo, right? Public relations. Yeah. And how beneficial it is to our company to take someone with those skills and throw them in a cross-functional group within the company and watch the new ideas start generating.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, it's powerful, guys.
Yeah. You don't need a leader to sit at a table to say, think about new ideas. You need people to get in open conversations and go, oh my God, here's an idea that just fell on the table.
Yeah.
We're also seeing that too. And I connected with the SHRM organization at different levels, that's human resources. And they just had a piece out in the last day or so where companies are not necessarily focused on filling the job, but finding the talent, the people skills, the technical know-how, and not necessarily building bench strength, because I mean, they're going to be plugged into roles that maybe they're not accustomed to, but they've got the mojo to be able to handle that. And so it's not put round pegs in round holes like the old recruiting days. It's take that person and see where they can best add value to the organization. Because again, we're in a talent war. We still are. And we're all scrapping for the same folks.
And I don't see that getting any better.
No, I don't either. And so, through the process of giving, we've just talked about 8 different areas where none of this is exchange of money. This is just about the process of giving and the benefits. They're too numerous to even mention with the things we've talked about.
Yeah, cool. A couple other things as we get ready to wrap up, Kari. You say hire givers, work with givers,
Yep.
And hang out with givers.
Yeah.
And I get that. I can think of 25 people in my town that are my people, my tribe, who absolutely understand that, and all of those different areas. Speak on that for a moment.
Yeah, I can't overemphasize that either. I mean, if I look at my most trusted, respected colleagues in industry, but we'll focus on my industry for a second. It doesn't matter if they're men, women, doesn't matter. Every single one of them is committed to being a giver. It's funny because one of my good friends, who's the president of a TPA, he and I were just catching up, and he said to me, I had the cutest thing happen. There was someone younger in our company, and we have a formal mentoring program. And he said, I kept waiting to see if anybody was going to ask me, whether they might jump in and say, hey, will you be my mentor? And sure enough, someone finally did. And I smiled the rest of the day after visiting with him on the phone about that story, in that all of us make it an art form to surround ourselves with folks, like-minded folks, right, on the giving. And I think if you as part of an interview process, or even part of just a corporate culture, so important in 2023, building a business and life around giving. So I'll again challenge folks. If you have an interview process, here's a challenge. Maybe ask a question or two about community service. Yeah. Maybe ask a question or two to the candidate about how they feel they could contribute to the company outside subject matter, right? Start those dialogues early. And for those of you who are interviewing or want to, find a company that asks you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Pay attention to the culture, the real culture of a company, not just what they write on their about section on their webpage.
Yeah. Let them show you who they are. And I think that, the corporations and that circle of givers we talked about, Teddy, they can facilitate a global knowledge transfer, new social initiatives, new donors, new hires, new clients. I think the paving the way to bring others with us and being openly grateful and generous with our actions and our words, being immense in that circle of giving, is so important to success.
Yeah, I'm with you. So
there was one of the points today. I don't know if you were going to get to it, and we've focused a lot on giving for giving's sake, not expecting anything in return. But I think you had a statistic where if you give me some of your swag, I'm more apt to remember your company. So there's an expectation there. But can you speak to that? Is that something that is true as far as the marketing piece?
Yeah, Randy, it's interesting. So in leading companies, I pay attention to not only hiring givers, but giving small things at the right time. Have intrinsic impact. There's an interesting study. It says that 66% of people who receive some type of small promotional gift, right, they recall that name brand a year later, and there's the value of that company name recognition and that experience. And I think that's pivotal to what we're talking about. It doesn't have to be anything magnanimous, but I think that stat's pretty telling about the importance.
Yeah, there's a good friend of mine, Elizabeth Cottrell is her name. She's an author, and I can't remember the title of her book. It's on my shelf. The Heart-Spoken Gift. And I'm not giving it true respect, but she said one way to give, a simple way, is a handwritten note.
Oh,
and I suck at that, Kari. I really do. And I know that, and I wish that I could get better at it, but I'm trying to. And I just, that's the point there. Sometimes it's as simple as a handwritten note that can change someone's thoughts, feelings, emotions, et cetera, et cetera. So
Mhm.
Randy, anything else you got up, buddy? I mean, this
Uh,
is great.
Not in the chat, but I have an observation or so. Is now a good time for that, or
Yes, you can go ahead, Randy. You have
Randy,
my
or okay? Well, we talk about giving, and we've heard the term zero sum game, whereas if I give this, that's less for me. And I think too often we look at life that way. If I give of myself, then there's less for me. But that's not the way to go. I mean, it's one thing if I have a piece of pie and Teddy asked me, and I only have one piece left, and he wants my pie, I might just say, well, that's less for me, so you're out of luck, because I like pie. But be mindful. There's the old giver's gain mentality when it comes to life in general, and you just never know the impact you may have on somebody based on your actions, your words, even if they're unintentional.
Yeah.
So be mindful that it's not a zero-sum game, and that the impact you have can go well beyond that moment in time when you thought you were helping them. You just planting seeds, and you never know where they're going to sprout and grow. So good stuff. Thanks, Kari.
Yeah. So, Kari, thank you very much. Really appreciate you in lots of ways, including this conversation. Thank you very much for showing up today and playing with us and sharing good stuff. Yeah.
Listen, we have the best toys on this show. And I love being in this sandbox. I want to thank you graciously for having me on again as a guest. And let me tell you again, we started with this as folks were rolling in for the show. Thank you for what you do for everyone and for the community and the fun with which you do it. It is powerful every week. And I will keep coming back as many times as you want to have me.
Oh, thank you.
Good deal.
Randy, you got anything, buddy, before I think the guest coming up is your guest?
Yeah, I'll make mention. We have Dr. Summer McGee. She is the president of Salem College and Academy right here in Winston-Salem. That school's been around for a long, long time. They have a great history, and we're going to learn a little bit more about its history and also where it's headed. I mean, colleges, liberal arts colleges, some of the challenges they face today, some of the successes. We'll also get to know Summer as well on a personal level. What brought her here, what motivates her. And so we hope you'll join us next week. That'll be on Teddy. That'll be the last of our March shows.
Yeah.
And then we're into April.
Yeah.
No kidding. How about that?
And if anybody has a thought for a really cool, special guest, you know how to find Randy, you know how to find Teddy, and let us know who you would like to bring to the show. And we'll be happy to bring anybody who can inspire and make you think and help you guys. So good stuff. Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the things, Randy, you said, that zero sum gain of giving, a little bit less for me. I'm gonna tell you, my energy level goes to another level when I help somebody and I see in their just the way they're looking at me that I did something of some value for them. I want to just keep going, and fortunately my handlers tell me when I'm supposed to stop.
What if they want a piece of pie and you only have one piece left, Teddy? You're going to give them your last piece of pie? I guess you would. You could split it in half.
Yeah, I would, but then I'll go later on and get another piece of pie or two. So yeah, I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. So
good stuff. Thank you.
The more we give of ourselves, the more we grow ourselves. It doesn't hurt at all. So hey, again, thank you to our audience. We love you guys all. We're appreciative of you showing up. Thank you, Kari, for being another one of our special guests of the show. Great stuff. Appreciate Kari and Blackwell Captive Solutions for sponsoring the show. Ownership, peace of mind, price stability. Check out Blackwell Captive Solutions because their clients have a shock absorber to help them manage that and reduce the pain of those claim calls. So again, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Take care.